Did you guys go on family vacations when you were young?
Somehow, my grandmother met a woman named Alma who lived in Wickenburg. And Grandma's arthritis was so bad because of the cold and the damp.
What's Wickenburg? Help me out here.
Wickenburg, Arizona.
Oh, I thought that was like a suburb of Detroit.
No, Arizona. And somehow, by her going out to Arizona, the pain was less in her arthritis. So she ended up going out to Arizona several times, 3 times, 4 times. And my dad would drive her out along with my mom, my brother, and me. Sometimes he took a cousin named Joy. Sometimes he took my Aunt Joyce. Now we had a relatively small car. If you see pictures of the cars in the 40s, they were small, no air conditioning, and we would have 5, 6 people crowded into that car. My brother was a toddler. He was around 2, 3, and 4, which meant that I was probably, 6, 9, somewhere in through there. We did that several times. We also took a couple of trips west, but mostly we did. I would say we traveled more than anybody we knew, but back in those days there weren't expressways, so
that's a big trip. That's like Route 66. I mean, you see the TV shows and that, and no expressways, 2-lane road, right?
We took Route 66 all the way there.
The cars weren't reliable. They broke down all the time.
And no air conditioning. And it was hot in the summer, hot out there, not in the summer. Yeah, we took her out in the summer. We did.
How long did it take? A couple weeks to drive there and back?
I have no idea. We stayed in motels, so I would guess it took us 5 days to get out there. I'm not really sure.
You mentioned helped her with her arthritis. So one of the things that, I know Grandma had arthritis really bad and Joyce had arthritis really bad. It's kind of run in the family?
Oh, definitely. It runs in the family. I know that my grandmother's sisters had it, not as bad as my grandmother, and her brother had it so bad that he was doubled over at the waist and had to use a cane to walk to keep from falling forward. And there were no great meds at that time for arthritis.
So arthritis back then, was there, people today, I mean, Dad has back problems today, right? Did they just call everything back then arthritis because they didn't know what to do or how to cure it? Things that we know better today are other things. Aunt Joyce and Grandma, I mean, their fingers curled over and everything else.
Well, they're all different kinds, and apparently they were all manifested in the family. My Uncle Bill, my mother's brother, he had the gout, which is a form of arthritis. My mother and my Aunt Joyce and Grandma had rheumatoid arthritis, and my Uncle Bob had a different kind of arthritis. In fact, at one point, a doctor wanted to study the family because of so many different strains of arthritis in one family. I don't know what other things were called arthritis, but at least with my mom, my aunt, and my grandma, that was definitely arthritis, no doubt.
I mean, unfortunately for all of us today, right, you and your seldom mentioned brother, Uncle Al,
Sorry, Al.
And none of us, right, that fortunately have arthritis yet today, nor any of Joyce's kids. So, that's good.
It is absolutely amazing that the arthritis gene has stopped in our family with my generation and with the next generation, although...
Knock on wood, Mom.
Oh, I know. Well, they all say if we live old enough, we're going to get it. Joyce's youngest son has a related condition with a very long name, but it's related to arthritis.
Who?
David. And I don't know what it is, and he takes meds for it, and the meds help him out.
So when we talked last year, you told me a little bit about when you were growing up when you were little. So tell me more about what it was like when you were in your pre-10-year-olds, living in your house. You were the youngest of 5 kids, right?
Right.
And so what did you guys do at home? What was it like at home? What did you eat? What were your favorite things to do?
when I was approximately 9 years old, I had two friends, and we had a big field next to us, and we'd go and we'd get a shovel and dig a big hole in the ground, and we called it our fort, and we put a wood roof over the top of it and dirt on top of it so nobody could see it, and we would go in there and have breakfast, lunch, sometimes dinner.
Did you cook in this fort, or where'd you get the food?
In our house. We'd go in the house and make some sandwiches and come back outside, and then we would go and to a field and find some old corn that was dried, and took the corn silk from the top of it and took a newspaper and rolled up the corn cob silk in it, and we'd smoke it inside of our little fort.
Oh, God.
And it would last for about maybe 5 minutes, and then we'd all start choking and have to get out of the fort because it was all blue inside. So then we got the bright idea, well, let's put in a smokestack. So we made a smokestack inside the fort and had the smoke go outside into the fresh air. That lasted for, I was still probably around 11 years old.
Did you ever get caught?
Never got caught, and we ended up making about 4 forts, and we had tunnels going from fort to fort. And we did that, and when I was approximately 13 years old, we lived on a boulevard on Outer Drive. And we used to go on an island and we would play touch football. And there would be about 12 of us guys. We'd all get together and we would just have a ball. We would fight like cats and dogs. We had 3 or 4 broken arms. We really played rough. And in this house that we lived in on Outer Drive at that particular time, they had a real old furnace. And you put in coal, small pieces of coal about 1 inch in diameter, and you would fill up a little hopper. And you would heat your house with this coal. And when the coal was done burning, it formed what they called clinkers. And it would be about maybe 7 or 8 inches in diameter, and you would put them into like a tin wash tub. And you would save those so that when it snowed outside in the wintertime, you could put the ashes down on the driveway so you could have your cars drive on the driveway in the ice. However, we never owned a car. My father never owned a car until I was approximately 21 years old.
So why did you save the clinkers if you guys didn't have a car?
For other people coming in to visit with us.
Oh, I see.
So they wouldn't slip and fall. We'd put them in the driveway. And my responsibility in the wintertime, of course, was to shovel the snow off of the sidewalk. And my mother's sister lived right next door to us, and I would shovel her driveway off for her too.
So tell me about the house that you guys lived in. So you mentioned that you had 3 sisters and 2 brothers, right?
Right.
So what was the arrangements for sleeping in your house, and what was it like?
In this house on Outer Drive, it was a 2-story, humongous home. It had an apartment upstairs where my mother's sister lived, and her name was Lottie, and we called her Aunt Lottie. We lived downstairs, and we had 3 bedrooms. 1 for my parents, 1 for my sisters, and 1 for my brother and I. And we had no bathtub down below. So every Saturday, we had to go upstairs to Aunt Lottie's house and take a bath.
Was there a shower or anything?
There was no shower. It was strictly a bathtub.
So so hang on. So in the main floor of your house where you guys were all at, right?
We had a toilet.
It was just one bathroom toilet. So somebody had to take care of business.
Right.
Everybody waited.
All 7 of us had to stand in line and wait for somebody to come out.
And so Aunt Lottie had the 1 bathtub upstairs.
That's correct. And
so, hang on. So today all of us take showers before we go to work.
right.
So your dad, when he would get up in the morning, he didn't take a shower before he went to work.
Never. Never. He would take a shower, I believe, on a Saturday like the rest of us. Once a week.
On Saturday.
Once a week. That was a ritual. Every family growing up at that particular time of the year, when I say year, time of growing up, every family took baths on Saturday. Everybody.
And again, once a week.
Once a week.
How did you keep clean the rest of the week?
Wash our hands and face in the sink.
What about like stinky, sweaty stuff?
No. Had to live with it.
So, like, what about like dirty clothes and stuff? Did they only do wash once a week?
Yeah, I don't know. My mother did all the wash for all 7 of us. I have no idea. And that was on Outer Drive until I was approximately 14 years old. And then we moved to Stewart Street, 968 Stewart Street, when I was 14. And that's when I started working in the a grocery store every night after school, after football or baseball or basketball practice. I would go into work and work till 9 o'clock. That's when the store closed. And my job, as my grandchild here was doing, I had to sort pop bottles and put them in cases. And that, Joe, I know what you went through when you first started working there. It was a bitch.
Yeah, so back in the day though, did they have a deposit on bottles?
No deposit.
People just did it, they recycled because it was the right thing to do.
That's correct. Yep.
So when you were little, going back to, again, before you were 10, so what kind of food did they have? What kind of candy? What was your favorite things to eat?
My mother had meals figured out during the week what we would have. On Sundays, we always had a beef roast or a pork roast or chicken. That was a given on every Sunday. Every Saturday in the wintertime, we had chili. And during the week, we would have hot dogs, hamburgers, ate a lot of hamburger and a lot of chicken because it was cheap back then. Feeding a family of 7 was really a rough job. My father had to work 2 jobs to put food on the table for us.
And where'd your father work?
And my father worked at the Western Union. And he put in approximately 44 years there. So during that time, all the children had jobs, my 3 sisters and my brother and myself, and we all paid room and board. As I mentioned earlier.
Wait, you paid room and board? How old were you when you were paying room and board?
I was 11 years old when I started paying room and board, and I paid $10 a week, and I had to buy all my own clothes.
From when you were 10 years old?
From when I was 10 years old. And when I became 18, right after I graduated from high school, I bought a car. And I was able to use the car to get to work. And back then, you could get your driver's license when you were 15 years old.
How did you afford a car?
I was working at the grocery store, and cars were so cheap, the car ran me $100.
Yeah, but that was a lot of money back then.
Oh, back then it was a lot of money, but I was making pretty good money working every night for 3 hours and all day Saturdays and all day Sundays.
How did you fit that in playing sports in high school? I mean, you played football, basketball, and baseball, so.
I had a great owner, and when I was approximately 17 years old, I became the store manager. Now we had, I believe, 8 employees, and 2 of the employees got caught stealing money, and so my boss asked me if I would be the manager and close up at night. Now, mind you, I was only at that particular time 17 years old. The store closed at 10 o'clock at night. I would count the money, and I would walk approximately 2.5 blocks home, carrying anywhere from $4,000 to $5,000 in a paper bag, and I was really scared.
Did you ever steal any money?
Never stole any money, not one dime, and that's why I was able to keep the job the whole time I was in high school.